Hey boys and girls, I'm here today to do Module 1, Lesson 10. My name is Miss Jimerson, 4th grade math teacher from Cypress Point Elementary. Alright, today we're going to be using place value understanding to round multi-digit numbers to any place value using real-world applications, which just means we're still going to be rounding, however, we're just going to be doing some word problems. Let's get started with our application problem. The post office sold 204,789 stamps last week and 93,061 stamps this week. About how many more stamps did the post office sell last week than this week? So that particular question, about how many more, has two key things in that. The word about lets us know that we're going to be rounding or using estimation, and then those keywords, how many more, tell us that we're doing subtraction. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We need some sort of representation for this particular problem. The best thing that I always love to use are tape diagrams. So let's use some tape diagrams. Let's use maybe last week, L, okay? And they sold about 204,789 stamps. Instead of finding the exact answer, we're going to be rounding. But for this particular problem, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to write in the exact number, and then we can go back in just a few minutes and we can round it. All right, and then they sold 93,061 stamps this week. So it's definitely shorter or less. So 93,061 stamps. Now, let's go ahead and round those numbers, and then we can do our subtraction. So we have a number that's in the hundred thousands, and then we have a number that's in the 10,000s. So we can't round them, or we could round them to the 100,000s, or we could round them to the 10,000s. Either one would really work in this particular problem. So let's just do to the 100,000s place, okay? So let's look at the top number for last week. They had 204,789. Now, thinking in your head, is that going to be closer to 200,000 or 300,000? So think about that number, 204,789. That's pretty close to about 200,000. And then that 93,000, if I'm going to do it to the 100,000s place, even though it doesn't have a number in the 100,000s place, it's either going to be between 0 or 100,000. So is that number 93,061? Is that closer to 0 or closer to 100,000? It's closer to 100,000. So we're going to say it's about 100,000. And again, we could have used 10,000s place. We could have even used thousands place. However, we just used 100,000s in this case. So now all we have to do is subtract. So they sold about 100,000 more stamps last week than they did this week. All right, let's move into our fluency. All right, 10 times 10 equals blank. Let's think about our multiplication facts. 10 times 10 equals 100. All right, let's move into some unit form. 110 times 10 equals also 100, because this is still the same thing as 10 times 10 equals 100. All right, let's move into something different. 110, or 10, times 50, that's going to give us 500. 10 times 50 gives us 500. All right, 110 times 80 equals blank hundreds. So 10 times 80 would equal 800, or in unit form, it's the same thing as 8 hundredths. All right, good job on that. Now let's move into rounding this number to two different place values without the vertical number line. So I've got 935,292. The first one wants me to round it to the nearest 100,000. The second part wants me to round it to the nearest 10,000. So let's start with 100,000s. What digit is in my 100,000s place? I've got 900,000s. So again, let's visualize and think about that vertical number line, or what it would look like. So if I'm going to round to the nearest 100,000, my bottom would be 900,000. Do you know what the top would be? Think about that just a second. What do you think would come after that 900,000? After that would be 1 million. So I would have 900,000 on the bottom, 1 million on the top. And that's a really big number. Now let's think about what would be in the middle. If I've got 900,000 and 1 million on the top, in between or in the middle would be 950,000. Where is this number going to fall? 935,000. Is it going to be above 950,000 or below 950,000? It's going to be below 950,000. So it's going to round down to about 900,000. All right, let me erase this circle around that place value so that now we can do it to the nearest 10,000. So I see that my 3 is in the 10,000s place. Now, the 9 in the 100,000s is not going to change here, okay? It's going to stay 900,000. But we need to think about 930,000 on the bottom. And if I'm going to count or go up by 10,000s, if the bottom is 930,000, the top is 940,000. So again, in between 930,000 and 940,000. So what would be in the middle of 930,000 and 940,000? The midpoint would be 935,000. So where would this number fall? 935,292. Is it going to go below 935,000 or above 935,000? It's going to go just a little bit above 935,000. So this one, since it's above the midpoint, would round up to about 940,000. Very good job on that. You just took one number and rounded to 2 different place values. Very good job. All right, let's do a couple of application problems or real world word problems. So it says in the year 2012, there were 935,292 visitors to the White House. Now, it says let's assume that each person or each visitor gets one map, one White House map as they come into the White House. Predict the number that the White House would need for the next year, meaning we're going to be rounding that number to the nearest 10,000. So what they're asking us to do is they're asking us to figure out if only this many people came in 2012, about how many maps do you think we need for the next year? So we're going to take 935,292 and we're going to round it to the nearest 10,000. So let's look at that number, 935,292. So if we're doing by 10,000s, it'd be 930,000 and 940,000. Let's think about what that midpoint would be. It would be 935,000. Now this one, we could have used a vertical number line. However, we need to try and get away from that vertical number line and just use our heads and what we know about numbers. So if my midpoint is 935,000, is this number going to go above the midpoint or below the midpoint? It's going to go a little bit above. So for 2013, they need about 940,000 maps. Now, this is the same number that we used in the previous slide, so really we had already answered our question. They just wanted to apply that particular skill of rounding to the nearest 10,000 to a real-world application word problem. All right, let's look at this one. It says 2,837 students attended Lincoln Elementary School. How would you estimate how many chairs the school needs. So let's look at this number, 2,837. My biggest place value is only the thousands. So my best estimate, or my best rounding, would be to the nearest thousands place. So let's look at that and visualize what that number line might look like. So if I have 2 in the thousands place, my bottom would be 2,000, my top would be 3,000. And let's think about what that midpoint would be. In between 2,000 and 3,000, I have 2,500. So where would that number of 2,837 go? Is it going to go above 2,500 or below 2,500? It's going to go above. So since it goes above the midpoint of 2,500, we could round it up and say that Lincoln Elementary needs about 3,000 chairs. It gives them some extra. It's always better to round up than to round down. So they would need about 3,000 chairs for their school. All right, this one says Empire Elementary School needs to purchase drinks for field day. There are 2,142 students at the school. Their principal rounded to the nearest thousand to estimate how many drinks they would need. About how many drinks will the school need? So we're going to take this number 2,142, and it says that the principal rounded to the nearest thousand. So we're going to think about that vertical number line where 2,142 would be rounded to the nearest thousand. So look at that number. What digit is in the thousands place? I have ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. So I have 2 in the thousands place. So my bottom end point would be 2,000. My top would be 3,000. And let's think about what would be the midpoint between 2,000 and 3,000. That midpoint would be 2,500. So where is 2,142 going to fall? Is it going to go above 2,500 or would it go below 2,500? It's going to go below 2,500. So that means it's going to round down to about 2,000. So they would need about 2,000 drinks. Okay, here's another one where we're going to take one number and we're going to round it this time to the thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000. So we're going to round it to 3 different place values. All right, this one is 845,001. Let's look at it to the nearest thousand. My 5 is in the thousands place. So my vertical number line would be 845,000 and 846,000. So let's think about that number, 845,001. Is that going to be, excuse me, closer to that 845,000 or 846,000? Let's think about that. It's going to be pretty close to 845,000. It's only one number from 845,000. It only has a 1 that sets it from that 845,000. Very good job. Let's look at it as 10,000s. So let me erase that. This time, 10,000s. So I'd have 840,000 and 850,000 at the top. And 845,000 would be right there in the middle. So if my midpoint is 845,000 and I have 845,001, it's going to be just a little bit on top of that midpoint. So this one would actually go to about 850,000. 850,000. And then the last one, again, let me take that 10,000s off and let's move to the 100,000s place. I have 8 in the 100,000s place. So my bottom midpoint would be 800,000. My top would be 900,000. So this number, I need to figure out what my midpoint would be. 840,000 or 800,000, excuse me guys, and 900,000. My midpoint would be 850,000. So where would this number fall? 845,001. Is that going to be above 850,000 or below 850,000? It's going to be below, so it's going to go down to about 800,000. So very good job. We took one number and we rounded to the thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000s place. All right, awesome job, you guys, doing these 10 lessons that we have worked on so far. I hope you are staying safe and having a great summer. See you guys later.